Hey Chris, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. You enjoying
Uh,
enjoying Valentine's Day?
yeah, working for the band and promoting. Yeah, but I love it. Yeah, yeah. My girlfriend just came home, so we're gonna have a nice evening afterwards. So
Right.
no
With that in mind,
stress.
no stress, but with that in mind, and I will keep this brief so you can enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so
Ah,
much for taking
don't
the
don't
time.
worry,
But
don't
still,
worry.
thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. I know it's a very busy period for you. How is everyone and half me doing at the moment, as we are literally days away from the release of the debut album Soma?
Uh, it's like everyone is on a different stage, extinguishing fires and doing their jobs. It's quite busy at the moment. I think the most busiest and most efficient time we had in a long time, and it's exciting. It feels scary. It feels yeah, like a big adventure. Um, and we're really happy to release the album end of the week.
At this stage, when we are so close, you talk about how scary times, anxiety, and stuff like that. But are you at this stage as well where you just want it out? Like you've waited so long, the music's been made, and you've probably listened to it more times than you would ever want to. You just want
Yes,
it out.
I just wanted to be out. Usually when a release is out, 2 days or 3 days after the release, I re-enjoy the songs. I tend to begin to enjoy the songs again. Like until the release, you really hate it. You just hear it over and over and over. If you really have just the like business kind of things on mind and all the parameters that are linked to the release, and after the release is done everyone really can enjoy the song. After that moment it really feels like a relief, and like the I don't know the English word when you pop a champagne bottle and
Yeah, celebration.
yeah, and the relief is there.
Of course, I mean, absolutely. And particularly, it's the, dare I say, the boring part of the business, as you say, this build towards the release that can be quite slow, the drip feeding of content that you have to do online and be in social media and stuff like that, as well as the promotion of things like this, talking in interviews and all that.
Yeah.
Overall, has this process, from the point it really got started to now, been enjoyable for you?
Absolutely. We've been a band that did all those things themselves from the beginning. We have a guy in the band that is a freelance marketer. I'm a freelance videographer. We have a guy that is really specialized in producing stuff. So we've been in this kind of situation even before the album and before the label. So we're pretty used to doing it all by ourselves. But nevertheless, it's still stressful. It's more stressful when you have a 10-track album. It's a lot more to consider. It's a lot more to have in mind. But
Mm.
overall, I think it's enjoyable. I mean, working on the art, but not working like creatively on the art is just another way of like being a musician, being in a project. And when you really work together with your friends on a project you love, I think whatever the work is, it's enjoyable.
That's good to hear. And it's fascinating as well because Half Me barely got started before the world shut down.
Yeah.
How much of an effect did the difficulties of the past few years have on the early growth of Half Me? And were you able to overcome them? I mean, of course, we're here now, so clearly you did overcome them. But was there any stage, particularly when you just got started, you thought, okay, this isn't going to work out. We have no idea when the world's going to get back to normal. What do we do?
I think there are two sides to consider there. On the one hand, the lockdown really pushed us into being more DIY, being more self-efficient and self-productive. On the other hand, things like live concerts, being on tour, being like in different parts of the state and stuff, those things really we missed those things in the beginning, and now we're like on a stage where some bands really had their they grinded their horns. It's a saying in Germany. When we are like an online internet band that now gets on tour and gets to have regular concerts, and that feels still a bit weird. I mean, we were all in bands before, and we all experienced in being live, but not live together as this group as much. We had a tour last year that really formed us and really got us in the direction we want to be. But I think the lockdown really prevented us from having that direction on the early stage.
Oh, so going back to that tour from last year, you say that that's where you really connected. Was that the moment then, would you say, you thought, okay, yes, half me is going to work, we're all feeling really good, and it's definitely got a future?
I think it took 2 or 3 concerts to be really comfortable on stage together, to know how the other guys are on stage and how to react and to interact on stage. But after the tour, we really got connected even more. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, take me back then to the early days of Soma. In particular, your vision. What vision did you have for the album? What did it look like? And was it clear from the start what you wanted to do?
When I think back to the beginning of Soma, I think that we had something in mind, but not something that could be described as a particular vibe. We wanted to be really dynamic, wanted to be like really experimental, not as experimental as being like genre bending and being really out of the box. We wanted to have a really good fundament, a really well crafted album. But when I mean experimental, I mean we didn't knew which direction we wanted to go in the beginning, and tried different types of feelings for each and every song. Chris, who's missing now, our singer, also did the lyrics in that way, that every song has a particular story of paranoid schizophrenia, and every song tries to be different from another. And that's what I mean when I say experimental. But overall, I think that's my credo. I think when you really write songs that you really love, and you really grind those songs to the core, that you really think they're perfect now, I think that's enough of making it your own. You know, if you don't have to force anything when you like it as you have with your taste. I think that's direction enough to be special enough.
But of course, I mean, that's just one part of the bigger picture, because it's so many analytical edges and touches that need to be done as you work your way to it. And obviously it's a long process. So along the way, were there any specific moments that you can point to that influenced the direction of the album, either in a positive way or a negative way?
I think there were many. I think the first one is we were a band that just really singles, not like LPs with multiple tracks to it. That was a different challenge, because now you have a 10-track album that really needs to connect, needs to be production-wise equally, and that was different. I think for me as the instrumental songwriter, I think we had a workshop with Lee Albrecht from Holofront, and he taught me some things to consider about songwriting that I never thought of.
Oh, really?
But that's more technical. That's not like in the overall scheme. But I think when it comes to the album, because the lyrics are really specifically tied to schizophrenia, to mania, to mental illness, I think we all agreed on the point that we are not experts on this level. I mean, our bassist is a psychologist. He has to deal with this stuff every day, but we didn't want to portray the theme of mental illness as we are the safe haven, or we know the we know the truth, we know how to resolve this, we know how to fix this. We just wanted to spot a light on it. We wanted to have it as a theme because we think aesthetically it fits the sound and the production we go for. I think that's a big part because we see the album as a work of art and not as a mission or like a more moral kind of thing. We just want to have a really good album that really connects with people live, smashing their heads, having fun with it, and everyone can interpret the songs as they wish.
Yeah, I think that's really important. But what you said there is something that I think actually comes through strongly. As you said, it's not about being an expert on mental health and mental illness and stuff like that. It's your opinion, it's your feeling, shared experiences, as it were. But that is still an incredibly difficult subject to talk about, to create an album around. Did you have a large pool of songs to draw from, or was it quite clear cut, the 10?
I mean, we had a lot of ideas of songs, a lot of unfinished songs when we started. But in the end, I think it was a really clear cut after we've been finished. And it took a long time to really write those songs to the end and be finished. And we didn't have a big pool of finished songs to put into the album.
Well, I've heard the album. We've written a review and recorded a video review, and think it's an amazing piece of work. It really is an absolute stunner, and it's going to really blow people away.
Appreciate that.
The wider audience has already obviously heard songs with the singles released so far. Considering the extremely positive reaction to those singles, does that help kind of ease your mind into how the full album is likely to be received? Because people seem to be loving what you're doing.
I think that there are also two coins, two sides of the coin. Never mind. Let me. there are two sides to consider there, and the one is, we are a newcomer band. We are really fresh to the label. We are making first experiences, and of course, we are dependent on like the external view of our songs and the people who love it and the feedback. On the other side, we kind of it got easier to think about numbers and like feedback and stuff because we evolved to seeing the album as our approach to our approach of a good album, and we just want people to experience it, and if they enjoy it, that's lovely. We love that. It warms the heart when we see messages from like all over the world and giving us feedback. And if not, then that's also okay. I mean, that's part of the business. We can't soothe everyone, and we just want to have a good album for ourselves and for the people who love it. Well.
Yeah, ultimately, as long as you're happy, that is the most important thing of all. You can't please everybody. It'd be impossible to do that. But I do, like I said, I do think it's going to please a lot of people. But I'm wondering, is there a specific track on the album for you that you're most intrigued for people to hear because it might mean something more to you, it might resonate differently to you, that hasn't been released yet, that you're quite interested to hear the reaction to?
I think our Focus single that will be released with the album that comes on Thursday, the video will come, and on Friday will be on the album. Because it has a not really metalcore vibe to it. It's really different from that kind of perspective. And I think it was the first one we wrote for the album, and kind of was also the foundation of everything, and is considered lyrically also the finale of the album. So like for the video, it all connects there, and it makes sense when you have the video and the lyrics with this song when you look back to the other songs. So like ties up really neatly, and I'm happy to see the feedback on that.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Amazing. Didn't know there was a video coming out that soon. That's just before. That's amazing. Is that an area you've enjoyed, the work in Soma? That kind of thing, doing videos, particularly now as well with the backing of a label?
For me, it was a new experience to have a budget. That was really new, because normally we paid out of our own pockets, and now we had a budget and could hire actors, could hire equipment, locations and stuff. That was different. It was a great time for me to evolve as a videographer and evolve with my profession. And also for me as a songwriter, it was a really huge step to write a whole album. As I said earlier, it's just different than just being on one single for 3 months.
Of course.
You have the time of your life, and now you have a deadline with 10 tracks. It's different, but it really helped me as an artist in that way to really grow.
I'd imagine not just you as well, but as a group, because would you say, considering you're still so early into your careers, you're still learning just who and what Half Me is as individuals and as unit?
It's kind of, it was challenging at times, also because now Half Me is not just a weekend project where you have a rehearsal room, drink some beers together and have fun. Now it is tied to deadlines, to budgets, to meetings and stuff. So that was a big switch for everyone. For me, it's a bit easier because I'm a freelancer. I can shift my hours as I want to. But for other guys who are like restrained, it was a bit different. But it also made the work more efficient because now we have like responsibilities for each and every direction, for audio, video, for interviews and stuff, and also for us as friends. I mean, the tour was the highlight for us as friends. It really connects us together when you really sweat together and really work together through those challenges and through those big mountains of work. When you start and when you finish, you really can enjoy that. But also, I think there's always, because when you grow, I think there's always the mission and the goal to be better with every release. That's where I really thankful for my boys, because when I do a video and export it, they're still critical. Even if it's better than the last one, they're still critical. They still want to be better and better and better. And I think that really pushes when it's like on a friendly competitive and like, you know, friendly criticism. That's okay.
I guess the day you stop caring about that or not being interested in it is probably the day you'd hang up your instruments, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's taunting. Is that a word? It's easy to relax on the level you are, because you know when you're on a certain level, I think the attention and the feedback that comes with it is always on a certain level. But the boys really taught me to focus on art, to focus on like the production process, and that really helps.
It really has been an incredible journey. Say those early singles kind of set the foundation, a strong foundation to what Half Me is, as we talk days just before the release of the album. Of course, signing to Rising Empire, huge deal. Congratulations on that, that's incredible. But also the overwhelming positive reception that is coming from across the entire world. For you personally, can you identify what you think means Half Me resonates with people across the world?
Oh, across the world. That's difficult to say when it comes from your own computer and you're like when it comes out of you and you have to explain why it's resonating. I mean, maybe because we are not really tied to like a specific genre in that matter. We have a lot of different influences. We tend to sometimes lean in hardcore, sometimes lean in nu metal, sometimes have electronics, sometimes really be just metal riffing, and maybe that's one point. Another point is maybe we always try to also when we shoot videos, we always try to shoot with an international look. Sounds a bit weird, but we always try to avoid being locally and regionally and nationally tied to a kind of location and look or that kind of thing, which makes it maybe easier for other countries to join in, because in my experience, German bands really dig on the German vibe. You can spot German bands when you're from Germany pretty quickly, and that's what I always wanted to avoid, which is nothing bad, but
of course,
it's just a vibe that I don't really personally link to, and we always wanted to avoid that.
I really like that because you're saying that, you know, I picture your pictures and the music, and I think, well, if I didn't know that you were from Germany and you were a German metal melting pot, as it were, would I easily be able to identify where you're based? And I don't think I would.
Yeah, and also we had that question in another interview. It was why we don't like perform in German or write in German,
right?
Because there are bands that do that in German, and there are also bands in Germany that are internationally like successful, like Consumer or like Electric Cowboy and stuff. No, Electric Cowboy is English, but like Rammstein or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the answer for us was that it feels more like a project to us when we can disconnect through the barrier of language. And sometimes when you hear German vocals, you have to be really, really artsy and really off the ground to enjoy that, because German language is so direct and so literal that we kind of chose to be in English to avoid that.
It's, you know, English being what it is, it's more universal as well, you know. American audience can pick it up and listen to it across the entire world. I mean, because then you go to the language route, you just start asking, well, why don't you do versions that are in Spanish, because that's a heavily spoken all around the world, of French and stuff like that. And it's, you know, yeah, I completely understand. With the release of the album just a few days away, then continues into the rest of the year, the next 10 months, and what we will hope will be a very, very continued busy year for you. But what is a realistic goal that you would like to achieve with Half Me this year?
For me personally, to release another LP, whatever length it has, like 5-track EP or more or less, to not stop the grind, to not stop the momentum. It's a big goal. It's a lot of work tied to that. But that would be a goal for me. I think for me personally, a big Europe tour would be a big dream come true, to see every big city in Europe and be able to say I was there, I've been there. For the other guys, there's also like US tour or Japan tour, a big dream to have. And I think for us, the current achievement we want to have is to be a really, really kick-ass support band, not a big headline band. We want to really focus on being a support band first, and getting people hyped and to get their faces kicked on a concert, and then enjoy the headliner.
Any build possible where, you know, an audience that has no idea what you're like, that's how you win over new fans. That's how they experience and go, yes, this is for me.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, we enter a part of the interview now, the last segment that we call the random round. And it's a bunch of questions pulled from hundreds that can be silly, straightforward, or deep and meaningful?
Let's go.
It's random. So
Yeah.
these are the 10 that are for you. Answer them as quickly and sufficiently as you want.
Oh,
So
Jesus,
number
okay.
one. Number one is your favorite personal bit of German cuisine.
Semmelknödel, which is like a mashed potato kind of bread thing. You have to Google it to, I think, fully understand it. But I think it's a Semmelknödel. It's from Bavaria. It's really delicious with good sauce on it.
That is the second time I've heard that in the last couple of weeks.
Ah.
And the other one wasn't from a German guy either, but he brought that up and I had to Google it then and learned it from that.
Yeah. It's really delicious, yeah.
Number two, what was your metal gateway album? The one that basically you look at and went, that started my love of heavy music.
I think it was Bullet for My Valentine, The Poison.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
I remember I saw All the Things I Hate on MTV, and I said to my dad, I need to have the album. And I wasn't really sure how metal they were, because All the Things I Hate is like the ballad and the most chill song. And I remember when we put the CD in the car, you have the intro with, I think, with strings and stuff, and then track 2 starts with a blast beat and with screaming. And I was so in shock. My dad like drove in the other lane, but I think that was quite a shocker, but it was a good shock for me.
Incredible. I love it. I love it. Love it. Right. Number three. Someone wants to know what Half Me sounds like. You have to play them one song. What is it?
I think Wraith. I think it has everything we stand for. All the song that comes now, but it's not now out yet. So, Wraith.
Still a good choice. Still a good choice. What's a horror movie that genuinely scared you?
Oh, unpopular opinion, but I'm not a big horror movie fan. I've been forced to see Hereditary and didn't feel not much because it's not my kind of genre. But when I think back on movies that made me, oh Jesus, there's not a lot that from the horror genre. It's really just think. I'm thinking too long.
It's all right. Did you not when you were younger, did you stumble across or ever see some of the more classic ones? So, you know, Halloween, Exorcist, things like that. And did that have an effect on you?
No, I was raised in a sci-fi environment. I had like Star Wars all over.
Okay, well, what about a sci-fi movie? Because some of them can be terrifying for a kid.
Terrifying. I think I cried when in episode 3 all the Jedis were killed in the theater, because I didn't see that coming, because I couldn't link like episode 3 and 4 in that age together. And it was a quite shocker for me, yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. Right, we're in a bar together. We're actually doing this interview in a bar, and I'm buying some drinks. What are you ordering?
Whiskey sour, I think.
Whiskey sour. Ooh, nice drink, nice drink. Continuing the food one, what is the most indulgent thing you think you've ever eaten?
You have to explain indulgence for me.
Rich, maybe costs a lot of money. Might be quite an acquired taste.
I once ate African pearl chicken. That's the literal German translation. I think there's another name in English for that. At a circus here in Germany, where you could eat like really fancy stuff, and you had like actors and like people flying over your head and stuff. That I think that's indulging when you
the whole experience sounds indulgent.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this one might only apply if you've heard the album, but have you ever listened to Saint Anger by Metallica?
Yes.
Okay, then the question is awful or misunderstood?
Something in between. I think the approach was right to have a different kind of sound, but I think it was not really good executed.
That is a very, very diplomatic answer. What's a dream holiday destination you'd love to go one day?
I think top tier is Iceland. I just love the north and the cold, and I think Iceland is like on the top of the list.
Yeah, my brother's been there and he said it's simply amazing.
Yeah, it's like out of this world.
A second last one. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable?
I mean, I guess I just have to remember one. Something unexplainable. I don't have anything on my mind at the moment.
Yeah, I think when we think of the word unexplainable, we often attribute it to basically, have you seen a ghost? Have you seen an alien and stuff like that?
I mean, as a kid, I thought I had seen a ghost. I can remember that. It gets a bit personal, but my mom died when I was young, and when I was 6 or 7, I was walking down the living room to my own room, and when I opened the door, there was like a smush on my eyes that looked like a ghost looking on my homework and making like this, like this gesture, and that was like okay, that's my mom. That's my mom.
Wow.
Criticizing my homework. So I think that's the moment. So
that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
And last but not least, then, in just 3 words, describe Soma.
Dynamic. Okay, let me see. Dynamic, aggressive, and violent.
I think those 3 words sum it up really, really nicely. Throw in things like diverse as well, destructive, belligerent, exciting, interesting. It is Soma, and it is out on February 17th, literally days away. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?